2024, as many as 4 billion people will cast votes across the globe as the United States and more than 60 other countries hold national elections amid growing threats to democracy. And we are here today to make sure journalism is up for the challenge. I'm Jessel Noor, Democracy Manager for the Solutions Journalism Network, a nonpartisan journalism support organization, and your lead instructor for this course, which will walk you through how to reinvent your political coverage so that it's more effective, informative, and helps your communities not just identify, but respond to democracy's challenges. This MOOC is part of SJN's long-running effort to help news organizations move towards a community-centered, solutions-focused approach that we'll introduce to you in this course, and away from horse race coverage that focuses on polls and pundits. I'm also speaking as a multimedia journalist who used these skills during the 2022 midterms to produce a 9-part series documenting how historically excluded communities in key swing states are fighting voter suppression and gerrymandering. In 2024, I'm also helping a news collaborative create a solutions journalism-focused voting guide for young people in Baltimore. Solutions journalism is one of the key skills in this alternative strategy, and we'll cover how to do it and how to define it in one of the upcoming modules. But first, I'm going to set the stage by talking about the problems with horse race coverage and an overview of an alternative that we call pro-democracy reporting. If you're unfamiliar with the term horse race coverage, it stems from the approach that treats campaigns and candidates like a sport, focusing on who's ahead, who's behind, and handicapping who might prevail in the end. This framework has been the dominant form of political coverage for decades in the U.S., and journalists who practice it position themselves as neutral observers and relegate the audience to passive spectators. Unsurprisingly, one study found that during the 2020 U.S. elections, evening national news broadcasts from CBS and Fox were overwhelmingly focused on the horse race. Another study found that policy issues accounted for just 10% of news coverage about the 2016 U.S. presidential elections. Horse race coverage is common in other countries as well. The problem in covering politics like a sport is that the issues that communities care about the most get sidelined, often leaving voters without the information they need to make informed decisions about how to cast their ballots. There's growing dissatisfaction with the status quo. Surveys show that an overwhelming majority of Americans want political reporting that helps them understand how they and their leaders can effectively respond to the challenges they face in their communities. And there's growing evidence that the media's over-reliance on horse race coverage hurts voters, candidates, and the news industry itself. Here's an example. As the journalist resource at Harvard University notes, dozens of academic studies chronicle the dangers of horse race journalism, finding that it's associated with a distrust in politicians, distrust of news outlets, an uninformed electorate, and inaccurate reporting of opinion poll data. And there's more, again from the journalist resource. Horse race reporting can also shortchange female candidates who tend to focus on policy issues to build their credibility, give novel or unusual candidates an edge, and hurt third-party candidates who are often overlooked or ignored by newsrooms because their chances of winning are usually quite slim compared to Republican and Democratic candidates. Another researcher found that the overwhelming negative political coverage in the U.S. has a, quote, corrosive effect on the public's confidence in government, resulting in a media environment full of false equivalencies that can mislead voters about the choices they face. With so much energy focused on horse race coverage, political journalists also spend little time reporting on democracy itself, including topics like the mechanics of voting and threats to fair and free elections. All this robs the public of information key to understanding where democracies are strong and where they need to improve. In other words, the horse race approach ignores what's at stake for voters and communities, especially those who've been marginalized. There is an alternative to all these problems, which journalists and newsrooms can use to move away from the horse race. More and more newsrooms are already making great strides in that direction. In the next video, we'll cover what it looks like to embrace this innovative approach. We call it pro-democracy reporting. It can help you ensure that you're putting the public at the center of your reporting and serving their needs rather than the needs of politicians. See you then.